Hey everybody, it's Amy Vandewater here, founder of Glue Veterinary Coaching.
And I'm Kat, Glue's veterinary practice specialist.
All right, so today we're going to talk about a pretty hefty topic that we're hoping we can break down into something a little bit simpler to wrap our arms around. And that is, what do I do? And I being you, the manager, what do I do when a client declines care and my team feels defeated? And this happens very regularly, right, Kat?
Mm. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is a good one. This
This is a big one. It's a heavy one. It's because it's probably one of the reasons why some people burn out and leave the field altogether, which is, from a glue perspective, absolutely tragic. And
Yeah.
so we need to figure out not just how to handle that moment of feeling really disappointed in an outcome, but
Mhm.
more importantly, and this to me is, the key to one of the keys to creating a really engaged and vibrant culture is how do we prevent them from getting in that place in the first place? How do, we
Mhm.
can't make this go away. There's always going to be
Yep.
disappointments
Yep.
in patient outcomes because we're working with clients, right? But how can we sort of mitigate along the way to make sure that at the end of a client interaction, no matter what the end result is, that we can walk away truly accepting whatever it is that that client has decided, right?
Yeah, this is a really big one. And I love that, we're talking about how to proactively do it, right? Because that is what emotional intelligence is all about. And especially what we teach in the hospital is how do we preserve our energy and make our lives sustainable when we're doing something that is so emotionally taxing all the time. I was talking to a guy, a young guy who does door-to-door sales the other day, and he was like, man, the resilience that this has built me just going door to door and having 10 people tell me no before I get one yes. And I was thinking about that in the veterinary perspective. I'm like, yeah, like he feels like he built so much resilience going door to door and being told no. Can you imagine adding life to that?
Yeah,
Right? Like
life or
we're
death.
we're
Yeah,
doing that and also like there's lives attached. Really sweet, cute animal lives attached.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it is huge. It's absolutely huge. And so when we first started kind of discussing this question, what kind of came up initially and just kind of popped out of our heads is that there are sort of four steps here of what our role, and let's think about this in the terms of our role as veterinary team members, right? So not necessarily as a manager, but as a doctor, as a technician, as an assistant, as a receptionist, as all the different roles within the practice. And so in our minds, there's like four steps here whenever we're interacting with any client, and we're not talking just about the ones that we feel like are more prone to declining, services, but every client, the first step is we need to connect, right? We need to create a genuine connection with that individual, the human on the other side. Number two is we need to advocate. And this is where, yes, we educate, but we also use, sort of persuasively communicate the importance of the treatments, the prevention, whatever it is that, we're as part on the table for that day. And then number three is adjust. And so adjust is that point where you get into a conversation with a client where they're like, you tell them what best medicine looks like, and they're like, whoa, there's absolutely no way I'm doing all of that. What's this cheapest, fastest, easiest thing that we can do and make this go away, right? And we've all been in that situation a million times. So
Mhm.
that step three is our ability to sort of gracefully adjust in that moment and say, okay, we're not really connecting here on the big ideal scenario. So let's find where we can, with empathy and with understanding, to find a place that will work for this client and this pet. And then step four, the most important part, is then being able to walk away, whether that's closing the exam room door or hanging up the phone, with this true, genuine sense of acceptance. And that
Mhm.
acceptance comes from doing those first three steps,
Yep.
right? Of
Yep.
knowing that you have done everything in your power to get this person, the information that they need and the drive, the motivation that they need to provide that best care. And
Yeah.
if they choose not to, that we can be at complete peace because we know we've done everything, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally. I'll say I think that this is something that comes up so often that this topic could be a whole team meeting, and setting it up that way and using the tool that you just laid out is that call method is what I'm calling it.
I know you
It's
can't really
connect,
call it anything.
advocate,
We could
adjust,
call it
accept.
like
Yeah.
CA3, like, it's,
CA3.
I don't, it's so, yeah.
Okay.
Not
Caw.
everything can be an acronym. Not everything can be or is this an
Not
anagram?
everything.
Whatever.
I think it's an acronym. I don't know.
Okay.
But if we can make this a team meeting and we can make this a normal conversation so that because the goal is when these scenarios come up, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, right? And that's why it overtakes us. That's why it can burn us out. That's why we carry it home with us at night. Like these are things that we carry home with us. We think about
Right.
that cat that we couldn't help and that lady who said the things and how we just shut down and maybe we could have advocated more, maybe we could have connected more, maybe if another doctor would have come in and said the right thing in a different way, like
Yeah.
maybe that would have done, right? Like we reel in our head about these things.
Yeah.
And so understanding that it's going to happen and kind of like naming that space to tame it a little bit right there, letting everyone know that we're all in the same boat, that we all have this same thing, connecting as a team first, and then giving the tools and saying, hey, when these things come up, there is a strategy in place. Because a lot of
Yes.
times when we have this emotional overwhelm, it's really hard. We know science tells us that we're not in our logical brain. And
Right.
so having these tools for them before everything starts to derail
Right.
is epic,
Right.
epic,
So
right?
what
And
we're
so,
really, I think what you're saying there is that we need to focus on, as leaders, focus on prevention of
yes,
that overwhelming sense of defeat. And the way that we focus on that is through number one, teaching the skills to be able to connect, advocate, adjust, and accept, right? Those are all skills that fall within the superpower of emotional intelligence. And then being able to talk about that freely and talk about, reminding each other every day of where we need to be able to say, I did number one, connect. I did number two, advocate. I did number three, adjust. And now I can be at peace
yep,
because I've done everything that is within my power to help provide the best care possible for those pets. And I
mm,
think this is a good moment to bring up. There is a difference between acceptance that's like, whatever, that person doesn't deserve a pet. Clients are jerks. They don't even care, right?
yep,
Yeah, that's like we can call that acceptance, but I would say that's almost like defiant acceptance. What we're shooting for is the stuff that doesn't leave a scar on your heart, right?
yep,
What we're shooting for is that acceptance that comes with that deep sigh and that knowing and that genuine confidence that you did everything possible. And
yep,
then we can really like sleep well at night and not carry this stuff home with us, at least not as much,
yeah. What a
right?
dream.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said, what a dream. Sleep
I
well and not
literally
carried home
thought
with
you
us.
said wet dream. And that was, and again, we somehow put some sort of inappropriateness into every episode so
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
It doesn't,
Thank God we can cut this out.
it didn't, and I'm not cutting that out. It makes it memorable. Someday a
Absolutely
listener
not.
will be like, yeah, there was this thing like something, and then something about wet dreams. And they'll be
I
like,
don't
oh,
know.
yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. It's great. That's why we do these things. Okay,
So,
so
oh, you go.
I was just gonna say, let's get into it.
Okay,
Let's
so
go through
okay,
our steps.
first up is connect, right? When we're
Yeah.
talking about connect, that is again a huge part of emotional intelligence where we are creating a really genuine connection with this human being that's
Yes.
on the other side of the exam table, on the other end of the phone line, right? And this in and of itself is one full 2 hour glue workshop, right? Or glue unleashed. It's shorter when it's in unleashed, the recorded version. But it's all about really listening with the intent to understand and being able to empathize, right? That's what we're really, really doing when we're trying to create these connections. Oh, and
Yep.
then I should probably add, like one of the glue, what do you call them? Like pillars or something? You've called them
Hmm.
something like that before. Glue pillars is that connections are what earn trust. And then that trust is what then earns us influence. And that's what
Mm,
we're really
mm,
talking
mm.
about in step number two, which is advocating, right?
Yeah,
Step number
yeah.
two is advocating.
Yeah. Step number one, I think, is the the hardest place. We kind of skip number one and we kind of immediately go into advocating, right? Like as technicians, especially, we are the advocate. We feel
Yeah.
deeply inclined to speak for the pet, right?
Yeah.
Like that is literally our job. And so we skip that connect piece a lot.
Yeah.
And it's because we think that we're overwhelmed and we don't have time to connect. Or like,
Yes.
we're standing in the exam room with our hand on the handle,
On
waiting.
the
You're like, yeah,
door, the door
yeah.
handle. Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, can you stop talking now? I got blood work to change.
Right, right,
Like
right, right.
thinking about all the things. And so if we can check ourselves before we go into that room and say, I am not going to x-ray wallets and I am going to take 30 extra seconds to connect, then that's going to set us up for so much more opportunity for
I
success.
love what you just said about x-raying wallets. I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. And
Oh,
that's
we're
really
so
about
good at that.
like making assumptions, right? Just based on this person that you know very little about that's standing in front of you and
Yep.
whatever attitude they may be presenting at the beginning of that visit. And we make these
100%.
presumptions,
Oh,
right?
we are pros at it. Me
Yeah.
especially, pro status. I can tell you
Yeah.
exactly how much money you have in your bank account based on your dog and your attire.
And what kind of collar they have on.
Absolutely. And how you speak to me,
Right.
100%.
So that step one, that connection is about, and we can't get into all of it obviously on a short little podcast, but that's really just about having a human interaction that feels real and authentic, and isn't just straight down to business, right?
Yep.
We have to create
Yep.
that. It literally can take 20 to 30 seconds. This
Yes.
is not like where we're sharing, pictures of children and grandchildren. It is
Yes.
so quick to do and very easy to do when you know the process. But it's essential because that's what sets sort of the platform for everything else to go the direction that we want it to, right? When we build that connection, we earn trust, and that trust earns us influence. And that's what we need to get people to that place where they say yes to best care. So
Yep.
we connect and then we advocate. Advocating is really about a combination. I think I already said this about educating, but doing it persuasively, right?
Yes.
And the way
Yes.
we do that persuasively when we advocate is connecting it to emotion. People and science says this, and no, I'm not going to find a source on this, but you can read it pretty much anywhere that people make decisions based on emotion, not logic. And so for us to just, instead of advocate, just educate, we're missing the part that creates that desire to take an action. And so
Yep.
again, this is another skill set again within emotional intelligence
Yep.
of how we recognize where a person is at. We are able to listen to understand, able to empathize. And in doing that, we're now in a great position to truly advocate for that pet's well-being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. One thing that I love to talk about in this advocate space or this education space is like we forget all the time that we are so deeply ingrained in all of our veterinary lingo
Yeah.
that when we walk into exam rooms and we start talking about, you know, um, the blood work, about something being off or about, I don't even know about the ear cytology even. They're like, what is a
Yeah.
cytology?
Or
Like
heartworm prevention or
right. Oh my gosh, even those
vaccines,
things.
any of
Totally.
every part
Right.
of it.
Right, 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 right. They're like heartworms. Oh yeah, those intestinal parasites that I
Yeah.
that I do every month. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like remembering that they are so much more layman than you think. And so I always say like speak it to them in their language. And it's this other, another version of the platinum rule of treat them how they want to be treated rather
Yeah.
than how you want to be treated. Because
Yeah.
you coming from this like very medical setting and you having this like very narrow-minded mission in place isn't going to get you to the common goal that you're looking for. Right.
Right.
Like, so
Right.
taking a step back and like understanding and speaking to them in their language, like if you hear how they're speaking, taking a moment to reflect that back to them,
Yep.
that's part of the advocating.
Yeah, and I think, what we're saying again is these are just skills that can be taught. This is
Totally.
not something that people innately have to know how to do. And, for everyone that's listening here who's in a leadership role, you've got people on your team that this comes very naturally for, right? Maybe it
Right.
comes very naturally for you. But for
Yeah.
the people that it doesn't come naturally for, it's not hard to teach them, but we have to teach them. Like
Yeah.
we can't, it's
Yes.
not
Yes.
going to
Yes.
happen. Those four steps,
Yeah.
the connect, advocate, adjust, accept, do not come naturally. And it's not going to happen unless we
Yeah.
teach them how,
Yeah.
right? And so that adjust
One
step,
other
oh, go ahead.
One other thing I was just going to say about the advocate piece, you mentioned, it's an emotional connection, and I know that that can feel kind of scary to be like, I don't have time to tap into the emotions. I don't have time to be drugged down like that. It's not about necessarily tapping into your emotions.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into their
Oh, good
emotions.
point.
And
Right.
so, reflecting back to them their emotions rather than thinking that you have to emotionally carry something
Yeah.
is a big difference. And like letting your team know that, this connection is emotional, but it's about connecting with their emotions.
Right.
You just heard them say that they're so frustrated with the dog pooping on the carpet because they have company coming over and,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, draw that out. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be anything to do with you. Like, you are
Right.
allowed to stay separate from
Well, and I
this.
think just to give an example of how simple this is, of sort of advocating in a way that taps into emotion, like imagine that you've got a dachshund in front of you, right? And it's seriously overweight. It's been overweight. It's been weighed at its last 3 years of visits, and it's significantly overweight at all of them. You've talked to them about diets. They've even purchased, a particular diet that you recommend, but this dog is not losing weight. It's not working. What we're saying, we need to go into this advocating place of this educating connected with emotion. And so in that situation, it looks just like this of saying, see this your little dog that you love that has the bow, in its ear. Here's what's happening. Look at these tiny little legs. You see these tiny little legs. These skinny little spindles are not meant to hold up this big fat hot dog. And what is going to eventually happen is that those legs are going to start hurting. They probably already hurt a little bit right now because we've been looking at this for about 3 years. And over time, arthritis is going to develop to the point that those walks that you enjoy every night after you give him 17 treats and your leftovers from your plate, he's not going to be able to make that walk anymore. He's not going to be able to get on the couch with you. This is why we need to make this a priority to lose weight. And basically, we're saying the exact same thing as, heart. We're concerned about heart. We're concerned about, all these other, issues that come along with obesity. But we're saying in a way that connects emotionally. It takes no extra time. But that is like the special sauce in advocating, right? But to be able to do that, we have to connect first. Otherwise, they're going to be like, what the heck are you even talking about?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so then
Okay.
we're to adjust. Adjust is the graceful moment, right? We're not looking for that abrupt moment where they're like, what are you even freaking talking about? I can't afford all this. What is the cheapest? You guys are just in it for the money. Okay, so we're talking about in that moment being able to very gracefully adjust to create a game plan that is going to meet that client where they're at, right? Where it's not that big, like below to the head, where you get whiplash. And then you're like, okay, whatever. I guess that we'll just do X instead of XYZ. And I kind of refer to that as bailing, like bailing out at that first sign of resistance.
Yeah.
But finding that place to gracefully adjust, rely on that connection to come to a place, a recommendation, finding that compromise that
Yep.
that client can be comfortable with, and that you can still, as a caregiver, feel really good that that pet left in a better condition or a better set of circumstances than when they came in, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I love that. I think that one thing that's coming to mind would be a really amazing addition and maybe like a fun game that you could play at this team meeting that you're gonna have is going through the adjust things and having maybe you sit down and think about, 5 to 10 common scenarios that
Yeah.
come up where people deny care. And we role play and we figure out places where we can adjust. Okay, we can't do the metabolic food. Is there another low calorie food or is there another coaching technique that we can offer, like the frozen
Yeah.
peas and carrots and green beans and all of the things?
And
Or
you're really aligning with that client and
right,
helping them
right,
provide that best care that ultimately we all want. And maybe it's not
right.
best care, but the best care that they are capable of providing.
Hmm.
And it creates this sort of team alliance type of thing that we're in this thing together,
Yeah.
right? And that's a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
part
yeah.
of connecting. Right.
So,
And
yeah.
everything that we talked about, again, I'm just going to say it one more time. This is all emotional intelligence, which is made up of, with the model that we use at Glue, of four main skill set areas. Teach them this and teach them this in the context of connect, advocate, adjust, and accept, right? Which takes us to our final step 4, which is that acceptance. And again, let's make that clear delineation that there's what I suddenly named defiant, acceptance, which is that angry acceptance, and then the true, genuine acceptance, where we can step away, still wishing for a better result, but at peace with the fact that we have advocated, connected, we have compromised, we've done everything we can to get the best care for that pet and be able to be at peace with the result, knowing that this is part of the gig. This is
Yeah.
part of the deal. It's to be expected,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one of the biggest pieces of carrying this home with us and those, ruminating thoughts that I was talking about earlier of like, could I have done more? Could I have said something? Could I have pulled another doctor in? Or, all these things that we
Yeah.
think about is like, it's really this underlying thought of like, I don't really know what to do or what the standard is or what is enough or
Yeah.
what is considered, you know, the to do whenever
Great
I'm
point.
put into a process like this. And so just defining that for your
Great
team
point.
and saying, this is what it is, and this is enough, and having that conversation that you were just saying of like, this is part of the job, this is part of the emotional weight that baggage that we carry as veterinary professionals. Just that understanding that we're going to see all kinds and that we carry gold standard, but we also have to meet people with the bronze and the silver and everything underneath that too.
The
Uh,
rusty tin foil
yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Which,
knowing it and knowing that you actually have done what the standard is, that we set a standard and we hold ourselves to that definitely helps relieve some of that for sure.
yeah, and I think sort of in wrapping this up, I don't know if you're ready to wrap this up or
Yeah. Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but okay, having that conversation about the 4 steps, right?
Mhm.
And saying when we can go through these steps, we are all going to stay more emotionally whole and get less scarring on our heart, right?
I
And then
love that.
also making it clear to the people in the room that these are things that every single one of us can learn how to do, right? For some, it comes naturally. For others, we just need to learn the steps of, when we talk about acceptance, I didn't mention this yet. Acceptance is really about self-management, which is the second core skill of emotional intelligence. And
Right.
and so we can be taught these things, we can learn these things, and when we know them, we can apply them in practically any life challenge area that we come across, both in our personal lives and our professional lives. And that's why we
Yep.
call it a superpower, right?
That's right.
Anything
Should we drop
else?
the
Any
mic?
final closing thoughts? Are we
No,
complete?
I'm feeling complete. I'm
I'm
feeling good.
done. It's instant. Like I just am like, I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
We are done
When
here
you know,
today,
you know.
Pat. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.